Hello again, everyone. Scoons Comics here with another exciting, oh so thrilling comic book haul. Yes. Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? It is Sunday. It is sunny. I am still in my child's bedroom because it looks so goofy in here. Every time I set up my camera, I'm like, yep, there's Pokemon on the wall and Five Nights at Freddy's and any port in a storm, right? I don't want to cover his stuff up with my far more mature comic book stuff for these videos because that's more. I'm not gonna do that. So, Five Nights, Pokemon, it's all good. I am gonna show some goodies. I went to the quarterly comic book show here in town, which is always feast or famine for me. Last year at this time, I got a huge haul of great stuff. A plethora of DC Universe logo books, which I love. And that was really about the last time I found those kind of books in the wild. And I thought, okay, a year later, let's do it. And no, not so much. It wasn't famine, but I didn't find that much stuff. So it's a little mix. And since it's such a small comic book stack, I'm going to show some of the other things I'm actually reading, just to make it more entertaining. Plus, I had these books handy, so here you go. So I'm a slow reader, okay? It takes me a long time to finish a book. I don't know. I go on to other things. I can't just sit down and read for hours at a shot. I don't know. I got ADD or something. My wife can just fly through a book. It's amazing. So one of the books I'm reading is Opposable Thumbs, biography of Gene Siskel, Roger Ebert. I loved Siskel and Ebert as a kid, as a teen. So this is a fascinating look at their lives and the show sneak previews, and it's a really good book. We'll go from more mainstream to most eclectic here. I'm also reading Edgar Rice Burroughs' The God of Mars. Look at that. Gods of Mars, excuse me. I'm actually listening to this on the audio book. Trying to get in better shape, so I'm doing a lot of walking. So I put my headphones in and I do the audio book of this. It's really entertaining. I've had this. I've got a collection of the first 5 novels of the John Carter, the Mars series, but I hadn't actually read this yet. So it's really good. And then, boy, here's a really eclectic book. Of course, I'm a big professional wrestling nerd, so I am reading the great Lou Thesz's biography. Hooker is not what some of you dirty-minded people might think. In the nomenclature of pro wrestling back in the 30s, a hooker was an amateur wrestler. Well, a pro wrestler that had amateur wrestling skills. He could hook his opponent and tie him up in knots and make him submit. So basically the whole premise is the carnivals back in the day, they'd challenge, anybody in the crowd, we'll give you $10 to beat our reigning champion, Lou Thesz. And then local Gomer would raise his hand because he was tough and go up there and fight. And then Lou Thesz, or whoever the wrestling champion was, would hook him, tie him up in knots, and thus his credibility was maintained. Good stuff. But anyway, this is his biography. It's pretty dry reading, but it's interesting for a wrestling nerd. But I mean, it's a lot of text and a lot of dates, and it's like a history book. So it's good. Not a real page turner. I've had this for quite a while, and I'm like, I got to get this off the shelf and start reading it. So those are the 3 actual prose books I'm reading right now. Quite a mix. But on to the stuff from the comic show. It's okay. It's an okay mix. So I got this little ash can edition of 2099 Unlimited, featuring the X-Men of 2099. So I've never seen this before, so anytime I see something I've never seen and it's cheap, I tend to buy it. So I picked that up. This was the place that everything's dirt cheap. Like, I got this stack of, I'm not showing all the books because a lot of it was run filler for me. But I got like 38 books for $18. So that's cool. I picked this up just because I watched a documentary on Eternity Comics, and Amazing Comics was another similar publisher, independent publisher in the 90s. And this is one of their most popular titles, Mutants, trying very hard to cash in on the craze of X-Men and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So, you got your X with some samurai swords, some mutants. Maybe somebody will get confused. But this featured the first published artwork this series of Ron Lim, who would go on a couple years later to become a great Marvel artist on Silver Surfer, Infinity Gauntlet, lots of stuff. So I just happened to watch that the morning I went to the show about Eternity Comics. So I picked this up. So I don't really have any Eternity Comics. And I'm sure I do. And then I picked up this one from Eclipse. This is just an anthology, it looks like. Total Eclipse #1. Just featuring a bunch of different characters. I thought that'd be a good sampler for this book. So, I don't know. Just a lot of the stuff I got was just pretty much stuff I wanted to read. Isn't that crazy? Just getting books you want to read. This might have been the purchase of the show because the title is so goofy. And forgive, I haven't rebagged or boarded any of these. They're all pretty dirty. I'm going to read this one. This is the Psychonauts, okay? I picked this up just for the heading here, the captions. The first ever American-Japanese creatively co-produced comic book. Psychic-powered space colonists on a mission of madness to planet Earth. What? The art should be much more insane than this, but it looks like very cult-like. I don't know. But I read that and I was like, I have to know what in the world this is. So that's strictly why I threw it in the pile. Run filler, like I say, I'm always picking up these Blackest Knight books. This is The Question. Again, with Blackest Knight, it was a great series in 2008. The miniseries itself was really good. The Green Lantern books were really good. They then went and did final issues for a bunch of canceled comics. Like The Question, been canceled years before. Issue 36. They brought it back here for issue 37. One more issue. So that's pretty cool. I have several copies of this, but I love the character so much, and when I find it for like a quarter or whatever I paid for this, I always pick it up. This is Robin #1, the first miniseries, newsstand edition. Tim Drake Robin, cool character. I've said it a trillion times on this channel. I love me some Tim Drake back in the day. Cool book. I also picked up this one. Detective Comics 680. Ignore these prices, by the way. I didn't pay this at all. Detective Comics 683. This is the first appearance of the Penguin. His evil bad guy lair, the Iceberg Lounge, his nightclub in Gotham, where all the movers and shakers and underworld do all their dealings. So, minor key, I crack up at this cover, this Graham Nolan cover, because you've got this lady, you've got a bunch of scantily clad women here. Nowhere is this in the comic. There's no one in like lingerie or bikinis or whatever at this club in this comic book. So this cover made me laugh. Like, okay, right on. Tom King, one of my favorite writers right now. And I picked up the first issue of his Vertigo series, The Sheriff of Babylon. I read this one already. I need the trade, or I need to find the rest of these. This was really interesting. I enjoyed this a lot. Yeah, Sheriff of Babylon. Tom King does a lot of superhero books right now, but Sheriff of Babylon was really interesting. So if you find that, pick it up. Cheap. Boy, something totally different than that is Dave Cockrum's TheFuturians #1. I have several copies of this as well. But anytime I find it, it's so good. And Dave Cockrum, great X-Men artist, one of the greatest costume designers in comics. It only works in comics. These costumes do not work in a movie or television show. But man, look how cool these look. Look at those cuffs on the boots and the shoulder pads and the colors. And it's just... I just dig it. I just dig it. This is comic book fun. I saw this book and I smiled. And if I smile and I pick up a book, I got to buy it. I picked up a lot of Captain America just for run fillers. I'm trying to put, you're always working on a Captain America run, but I'm never going to put that all together. But this is Captain America 425. This is the start of the Fighting Chance story arc. This is the the last story arc before Mark Waid took over the book. One of my favorite runs in comics. Mark Waid, one of my favorite Captain America writers, one of my favorite writers. But this is Mark Grunwald, who was on Captain America for a decade plus. This is his last major story arc. And, I found it for next to nothing, so that's a pretty cool book to add to the collection. Okay, then I picked up, a dealer had a bunch of stuff, but he also had 3 for $10. These a little bit nicer books. So I found a few things I wanted. Batman 457 Newsstand Edition. First Tim Drake Robin in the new Robin costume. Not the little booty shorts with little boots, green boots, bare leg. No. This is a serious crime-fighting outfit right here. It's good stuff. The newsstand editions from DC I always enjoy because they show the actual dates. I think that's pretty cool. I would love to find one with my birthday on it. That's that's pretty nifty right there. And then, I have a spinner rack in my basement, and I like to put books on there that I can just grab and read and enjoy. And I've been on a real John Carter, obviously by Gods of Mars. I've been reading a lot of John Carter stuff lately, and I have this book. I have this whole Marvel series, but here's John Carter #1. And I just wanted to throw it on the spinner rack just so I can grab it and check it out from time to time. So this just screams Bronze Age Marvel, 70s comic book fun. I like it. And I'm always picking up Jack Kirby DC books because it's a real blind spot for my collection. And here's Commandy #3. I don't have a lot of Jack Kirby Commandy, so this one's in really high grade. And to get it as part of a 3 for 10 deal, that was pretty cool. Jack Kirby, can never go wrong with Jack Kirby. So that's all I picked up from that show, except for one more book I'll show here in a second. But my local Half Price Books is out of bagging boards, so they're not putting any new books out, which is annoying as hell. But they did pick up a bunch of magazines lately, including a bunch of Epic Illustrated, the Marvel series from the 80s and early 90s. And they had this one for $5, which was the start of the John Byrne Last Galactus story that they never finished. But it's something I've always wanted to read, so I'm like, well, they got the first chapter of that. That's pretty cool. If these weren't all fun, they got several issues of Epic, and I would like to pick them all up because they're cool reads, if nothing else. Storing big magazine things is a problem. I don't have room to store comics right now anyway, and they're $5 each. If they were cheaper, $1.50, I'd probably pick them all up. But a cool book to find. Last Galactus story. Hex yeah. And then last, but certainly not least, I found one guy that had some old Westerns, and I love the old 1950s Western stuff, just because it's goofy and no one collects it. Well, people collect it. Not a lot of people right now are into Westerns, okay? So when I find them in good shape, it's fun to pick up. But this is Atlas Comics, Marvel Comics before it was Marvel. Texas Kid #10. This is cool because it's the last issue of the series, issue 10. I collect last issues of runs, so to have the last issue of this is pretty cool. It's beat up. The centerfold in this is detached. It's in here, but it's detached. And I got it. He's got a price tag of $20 on here. I got it for 10. Really cool book. It's just fun to have in the collection. It's beat up, but the cover looks nice, and again, made me smile. I guarantee there's no other room on the planet right now that has the Texas Kid and Five Nights at Freddy's in it. This is an amazing thing. This also has I'm not going to take it out because the thing will fall apart in my hands, but one of the last pages, there's an advertisement for hypnotizing. And the ad is very blatantly just trying to hypnotize a woman. It's just like a pretty lady drawn, and she's kind of doe-eyed. And just, you hypnotize a lady. Who doesn't want to do that, right? And it's, you can try it for 10 days for $1.98. And if you're not satisfied, they'll send you your $1.98 back. 1952, an interesting time. And that's what I have this time, everybody. A little mix, but, you know, made me smile. I hope everyone is well. Everybody have a good week. Take care, and I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.